exposing the hidden truth.
So who is our mystery guest? Well, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She's the incumbent for Joseph Crowley of the 14th District of New York. And of course, she is a person who has followed along with Bernie Sanders, which you see here, Bernie Sanders. I called him the talking head. So this is the problem for that district now. And the reason that I say that is because she's a Democratic Socialist. A socialist. Now, Democratic Socialists, what they do is they get into office and they try to change capitalism, or could change capitalism, to a socialist country. Socialism. Alright, so that's what that's about. Socialism. So people are calling her the crazy lady. She's a crazy lady because she wants to get rid of ICE, have people flood the country, right? There are no borders. You don't have any borders. You don't have a country, right? Alright, so that's not being prejudiced or racist or anything like that. It's just you need to have all the stuff that you need, because look at this. I mean, Democratic Socialist, right? So I wanted to take a look at what socialist countries there are that people should be maybe concerned about, right? So let's take a look at Cuba. Cuba is a socialist country, right? So everyone that wants to get an education can get an education all the way up to, I guess, maybe a doctorate degree. But no one really takes into account how the U.S. government is going to pay for that. People, there are thousands and upon thousands of colleges and universities all over the United States. The country can't afford it, right? So say for instance a person can't find a job and they want to go and get a bachelor's degree. Well, they're not going to be the only one that wants to go get a bachelor's degree. But think about this. Afterwards, they get the bachelor's degrees, the employers are going to wipe it off to the side and say, well, you don't need bachelor's degrees, but you need a master's degree. And then everybody will go and get masters. And then after they get rid of the whole master's thing, and then people will go and get doctors, and then after that, pretty much after that, the country is broke, because it's thousands of dollars to pay for these degrees. I know that because I'm also one of those people that have lots of degrees, right? So the government can't pay for that. So if millennials are thinking of voting for her just because she's come up with this tweet and she's targeting these teens, it's teen vogue, then that's probably not a good idea. It's not a good idea. I'm not saying that, Miss Cortez is a socialist. I'm saying that she's going around and campaigning that she's a democratic socialist, right? And that's not good. That means the Democrats have gone too far where? To the left. Let's take a look at what she wrote in this tweet. It said, at the start of my run for Congress, I publicly pledge to reject all corporate PAC money. And I can kind of say, yeah, maybe she did. But she goes on to say, that's because I didn't want anything to get between my community and my advocacy. We won with an average donation of $22. People, Miss Cortez net worth is $200,000. All right? But this whole donation thing, I just want to go back to donation. The donation of $22, no one ever paid $22 towards her campaign. Never. They didn't. That was not a true statement that she made. So this is where most of the money came from for Miss Cortez or Ocasio-Cortez. It came from out of state, from not from New York, out of state. It came out of state from places like Arkansas, no, I'm sorry, Alaska, California, Florida, Illinois, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Texas. Texas is a long way from New York, people. Washington State and Wisconsin. Wisconsin is kind of close, but you kind of get my drift. Now, the median income of earners is roughly about the 50 percentile, right, of most Americans. Well, this video is about gentrification. Miss Cortez net worth is $200,000. So New York, that's not so bad. She's still considered middle income. But she's not in the median income earners range. So to think that she's going to change what is already going on in New York as far as those buildings being built, it's not going to happen. She can't change that bill that Joseph Crowley had passed in the House as well as the Senate. It's not going to happen. So this whole Democratic Socialist thing is a really bad idea. Now, I found something that was kind of suspicious. She said no super PACs, right? Well, she took money from super PACs, but they were liberal super PACs. There was two of them. I'm not going to go over those today. But this actblue.com, I noticed something very odd in how much money was given to her campaign as far as the amount. Let's take a look. ActBlue on June 25th of 2018 gave her $5,000. People, $5,000 is packed. That's a packed amount. For individuals, you can give up to $2,700. You'll see that here in just a second. But I also paid attention to who was giving her money. And this is coming from the FEC report. Right? It's coming from the Federal Election Commission. Alright? So that's how you check your candidates to see where they're getting their money from the FEC. This guy here, his name is Howard Klein. He's from California. On the same day, mysteriously gave her $5,000. But on his report, he stated that he's not employed. He's not someone that's, from a super PAC or anything like that. But he gave the maximum amount, $5,000. Now, I don't think that it's crazy that people give this type of money to candidates. But what I am saying is that $5,000 is kind of like a packed type of donation. That's packed money. Then I noticed again, there was a lot of transactions from ActBlue. Now, ActBlue is an online organization that helps to fund campaigns for political candidates, right? So you would think that those reports that would go to the FEC would have the individuals' names on it. It didn't. This whole thing actually came out to look more like a super PAC to me, because the individuals' names weren't in it. Like I said, the amount of money that's supposed to go from an individual's perspective is $2,700. That's not what happened. But get this. Jennifer Zalindi, which is a lawyer or an attorney in New York, gave initially $4,000, but I went ahead and added the additional $3 to show you how much money this one person gave Miss Cortez. Not a big deal, right? Yes, it's a big deal because it's to be above the amount. It's above the $5,000 amount. That's super PAC money. She said, this is what she said. She said, I publicly pledge to reject all corporate PAC money. Well, guess what? This lady is from Celindy and Gay, PLLC in New York. That's a company, and that's not the only companies that she took money from. She took money from lots of big, big companies, and I'm gonna share some of those with you too, because this channel is all about exposing stuff. Okay. All right. So now this amount at the in the primaries makes sense. $2,700 from Act Blue, right? But again, it's from Act Blue. Act Blue. Well, they should have made sure to put the individual's name there so that it can be an itemized individual contribution, right? Not Act Blue. It looks like a super PAC, and to be honest, no one knows who gave this money now, right? We don't know who gave $5,000. Of course, there's rules and such that says, well, they don't have to know it, but or no one has to know it. And this is how it's set up. But this is like another loophole now because people are not going to know who gave this money. It could be those big, well-known people in California, where she did a tour there in California. About banning ICE. Because people are calling her the crazy ICE lady. She's crazy ICE lady because she's a Democratic Socialist type that's following Bernie Sanders, right? So you would think that when she's going to California, that she's not meeting up with these people, but they could be giving her all of this cash. And this is a lot of money, $5,000, and this is on one day. 6,000. I mean, on June of 25th, 2018. And these aren't the only transactions, people. There's tons of them. There's like, I think 50 pages long. Granted, most of her supporters were grassroots people, about 62%, right? But that's not the problem. And this is why I connect her as well as a gentrification queen. Because, a person who's going to the U.S. House of Representatives, say, for instance, she wins in New York, right? She hasn't quite won yet. But if she wins, the House of Representatives, the average salary is $174,000. So how can she change anything that's going on in New York as far as gentrification of Queens and Bronx or any other area? Why wouldn't she want for these nice, fancy, big, tall buildings to go up, these residences that is going up? Like the one I mentioned early in the video, that 4320 24th Street residential. You may want to go back a bit and take a look at it, but it's this huge, big, fancy building. They're doing the same thing that happened in Chicago with Rahm Emanuel, Democrats, building these glass city places, that no one can afford. But so how much money did she get from this organization? That's right, $496,422.21. Right? So that looks like super PAC money to me. Of course, she's probably not going to get in trouble for this. I'm just exposing the truth. That's how much money she got. So that's not the full amount that she received. See, Ms. Cortez received a little bit more than that, didn't she? The overall total is $876,405.46. Right, so the other $400,000 she received from companies. All right, so let's take a look at those companies, right? Let's take a look at J.P. Morgan Chase, which gave her like $4,000. I know $4,000 or $5,000. MacArthur Group, Elevation Partner, Exilium, and the City of New York gave her $2,500, which I find kind of strange. Why her? When they already was in support, or should have been in support, of Joseph Crowley. Because Mary de Blasio was also involved in taking money from these real estate companies. That's true. That's right. So I look at Miss Cortez as being someone that's not being truthful. And I kind of find that she's, her, or maybe even Bernie Sanders, are trying to trap millennials. Someone who doesn't really understand about this whole thing of socialism and how socialism can destroy the country, right? From all of this free stuff. You get this free stuff. Well, the country can't afford all this free stuff, so it what? Collapse. It collapse. All right. So I have to look at what exactly is socialism, right? I found a couple synonyms that kind of describes socialism, right? All right, so you have leftism, and of course online you have people calling people lefties, what have you, or leftards, what have you. But you also have utopian socialism. That was like back in the 30s and 40s, where there was utopianism. People wanted to have a utopianness, which probably goes back to why Bernie Sanders is thinking the way he is. But socialism also refers to welfareism, right? Because that's what it's all about. Everyone's happy. Everyone has an opportunity. Everyone, not necessarily an opportunity, but everyone has something, you know? Everyone's created equal. Yeah, it's a utopian thought. But beyond that, it's communism, right? All right, so because you have to think about the countries that are socialist states, right? You think of countries like Cuba and Laos, and I'll mention the last one in just a second. But you also think about Bolshevism, right? Where millions of people got killed in Russia, right? Under Stalin. Yeah, because they didn't do what it is that the president at the time, I can't quite remember that guy's name. Stalin, Lenin. So these took these people. They took their all their product, uh, farming products, all of their wheat, and they starved. And he also took all of their farm equipment and their pigs and stuff like that, stuff that they would eat and live off of. All right, so they took all of that stuff away. All right, people. This is pretty particularly for millennials, and those people starved. And this is back in the 1930s, and they died. We don't want for that to happen in the United States. We don't want people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to go into the White House and get a group of others that think like she do and destroy what we have, right? All right, so, but that's not really the problem, right? This is the problem. It's this strange, weird flag. It's red. It has a wonderful rose in the middle and people of different colors, maybe a black person and a white person, and they're shaking hands. There's nothing wrong with that. There's something wrong with that, people, because of him, Kim Jong-un. This type of person. It, that's what socialism is. That last country I wanted to mention was North Korea. They're a socialist country. So we don't want that in the United States. And if you take a look right here on the left side, his left chest, right? His left chest is this red strange flag where he has him and his father there, or maybe his grandfather, in this little red flag. That's what this is. Look, these are red flags. That's socialism. So we don't want that, right? Well, I hope that you have a good understanding about this so far. And if you really don't truly understand, I would like you to take a look at Prager University for them to explain to you what democratic socialism is.
Democratic socialism. It's not the same as socialism because it's democratic, right? Or something, right? People are buying that. People buy that now, right? Apparently. As though adding the word democratic in front of a word changes what it means. Just because we toss something to a vote doesn't change what that something is, nor does it alter whether that something is inherently good or bad. Couple of examples, because I know you'll ask. Hamas was democratically elected as the government in Gaza, despite the fact that the destruction of not only Israel, but the eradication of all Jews is in their official charter. Robert Mugabe, or Bobby Mugabe if you prefer, was democratically elected by a loving majority in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe, how's that working out? Venezuela? Well, Hugo Chavez, noted personal favorite and friend of Sean Penn, to whom he constantly pointed as being unfairly characterized as a dictator when in fact he was democratically elected as a socialist. Well, how'd that work out for Venezuela? Well, it's now on the brink of collapse, despite it being one of the most resource-rich nations in the entire world. Basic things like eggs, milk, flour, and toilet paper are either too expensive for the average Venezuelan or simply out of stock. Out of stock, mind you, democratically. I know. Some of you will say, well, that's not fair because really we knew all along it technically was a dictatorship. Okay, that's fair. Let's move on to example number 2. Denmark? Okay, here's the time where you point to an entirely homogeneous population about 1/60th the size of America's and you point to that as the blueprint. Okay, let's go there. This is a place where the middle class can't even afford a car because of the 180% new car tax. And the Prime Minister was so fed up with Americans pointing to it as a beacon for socialist success that he felt compelled to clarify, I would like to make one thing clear. Denmark is far from a socialist planned economy. Denmark is a market economy. Sweden? I love Sweden. Okay, great bikini team, and thanks to that country, my armoire now doubles as a bookcase. Speaking of which, the founder of IKEA, let's be honest, the only really cool export from Sweden, aside from a few good hockey players, left Sweden because of the stifling high tax rate. So, Sweden, good place, not bad people, but a successful model for a viable economy in today's global market? Incorrect. The fact is that over time, the greatest enemy of socialism is reality. The reality that human nature will invariably pull certain people toward individualism and success, and others toward laziness and collectivism. The tension between the makers and the takers always leads to socialism's inevitable collapse. But I know that I can give you examples of failed socialist economies until I'm blue in the face, and you won't care. Because at least socialism is inherently more morally altruistic than the evil, greedy, capitalist warmongering seen in the West. Greed? What's more greedy than wanting to take from someone else something that you haven't earned? Unlike capitalism, free enterprise, which can only occur truly through voluntary transaction, socialism can only occur at gunpoint. That's what it comes down to. If you don't pay your taxes, once you get through the IRS and the auditing and the lawyers and the PR stunts, people make you give the government your money, an increasing amount of your money, the more successful you are, or they send in scary men with guns to take you away. Now, so long as the people having their stuff taken away at gunpoint are in the minority, and the majority feels that they'll get to benefit from more said taken stuff, you'll always be able to win that decision through a popular vote and claim the moral high ground through democracy. Putting the word democratic in front of your socialism doesn't make it any inherently more moral nor less violent. Did you get that? American wannabe socialists also. Get a job. Please, like a real job. You'll probably have to shave first. I'm Steven Crowder for Prager University.
To subscribe to our YouTube channel, click here. To help keep our videos free, donate here.
For more, subscribe.